let's open up this box and see what's inside. Got a pretty good idea of what it is because it says right on the box it's from Genmitsu, and it's the Jinsoku LC-50 Plus laser machine. Kind of looks like that. This is going to be fun. So let's open up the box and see what's in here. One of the interesting things about this is it was shipped from China on Friday, and it showed up at my house in central USA via DHL delivery on Monday. I don't understand how that works. How can something get here from China in 3 days? All right, what do we have inside the box? The all-important user's manual. I'm hoping there's some instructions in here. Looks like it. It's a lot of instructions in a variety of languages. So that's a keeper. Packing. Ooh. Okay. Here's the air assist air pump. Very cool. We can looks like we can control the airflow here, and we've got an output. We won't need that until we actually get this set up. Okay, we've got 2 power cords. I'm guessing one of them is for the laser engraver and one is for the air pump. Here we have a USB cable. So we can pull that out of the bag. I actually have a cable already in place, so we'll just put that in the cable bin. What else do we have here? We've got a big chunk of metal. Okay, that's probably an important piece. Set that over here. All right, another important piece. It's going to be one of the axles, I suppose. Ah, feet. Oh, cool. So on the bottom of these feet, there's like a little neoprene pad that'll help them from sliding around on the work surface. Okay, we'll set those aside. We don't need those right away. Oh, check this out. Like a little box of stuff, and it says on here we have a limit switch, coupling, USB drive, cable tie, Allen wrenches, some bolts. And if we open that up, well, there's nothing in these 2 compartments, so apparently we don't need any M314s or M322s. Oh wait, nope, there are 2. Okay. They've gotten jostled around a little bit in shipping. That's definitely a little bit longer than a M6. Looks like a M22. This looks like an M22. This looks like an M6. All right, so we've got everything back where it's supposed to be. Ah, I love this too. It's a thumb drive, and that has all the software and drivers for the machine on it. It's kind of a fun way to get the software. We'll set that aside for later. Okay, so what is... Wow. These limit switches are fancy. Now look at that. Get it in the light. A little connector. Cool. All right, we'll set this little box of goodies aside. We'll be needing all of that. What color glasses did they send? Dark green, which I really don't understand with a blue laser why you would do green safety goggles. You want to get as far away from that frequency as possible. I would think red safety goggles would be better. Anyway, comes with a nice cleaning cloth. It's all sealed up. We'll just leave those in here for now. Save those. Here's the laser emitter. Wow, look at that thing. Cool. It's got this nice red safety shield on here. It's got a nice air assist nozzle already set up on there. It's a fixed focus laser. And check out this number. Optical power 10 watts. And it's a 455 nanometer, just like the other lasers we have. Nice little controller board on here. This thing is kind of heavy. This is well built. This has got some heft to it. So it should work well as a heat sink. Got a nice little guard that will help reduce the errant or the reflections as we're cutting. And the nice thing is we can flip it up out of the way as we're getting things aligned and adjusted, or if we really need to watch what it's doing. Nice. Okay, we'll set this aside. All right, we have a whole bunch of little pieces over here. This looks like part of a leg, potentially. Yeah. This guy just slid down. This looks like a focusing block. Whoa, look at that. That's got to be 1, 2, 3, 35, 40 millimeters focusing block. Not sure. We'll have to measure that up, find out. Extension tubes. And these again are for the feet. The extension tubes will allow us to raise the whole unit up to be a little bit higher. That'll work well when engraving something that's taller, or potentially using the rotary roller on something. So let's set these feet off to the side here. All right, here's a power brick. This one is a 60 watt, it says on here. Nice, 120 volts, 5 amps. We do the math. Yep, that's 60 watts. And yes, that really is math. For those of you that know anything about electronics, P equals IE, so power equals voltage or current times voltage. We have our voltage as 12, and we have our 60 watt output. So if we take our volts, 12 volts, it's multiplied by the amps, and that gives us our watts. So 12 volts times 5 amps gives us 60 watts. What else do we have in here? All right, now let's see. Let's take this piece out. This is one of the side rails. Okay. I wonder which one this does. Maybe the x-axis. Turn it around here. It says x-axis on it, so that must be what that is. Set that over here. Belt's already installed. There's a limit switch already installed. This set, it came, partially assembled, and they are not kidding. Okay, here's another one. Okay, this is going to need to get hooked around, I bet you, this drive shaft. So this is the counterpart to the x-axis stepper motor piece. Oh boy, they've got this stuff packed in here nice and tight. Okay, here's another stepper motor. This one says Y-axis, so we know which ones that's for. And we have some wiring going around here, out through this hole. And we'll see how that all gets hooked up. The belt is very loose, but that's why we have these tensioners. Once we get this put together, we can get it all set up the way that it needs to be. There's also a limit switch in there. Okay. It's got a plug for offline controller. We have our e-stop switch, testing and home switch, and on and off. And a spot to put our alignment spacer, which is this guy, so that can sit right in there somehow. I'm sure there's some other piece that we need for that to work properly. Oh, look at that, and it comes with a drag chain. Here's a little piece, don't know if we need it or not, it looks important. It's a little rubber stop end cap of some sort. And that's it. This is really nice the way they have this set up. They've got all the wires nicely wrapped. They're coming out, I'm going to hope, in the spot where they need to be. Okay. We'll start with whatever this says to do first. We'll follow the instructions and get this thing put together. Well, let's see if we got everything.
We've got the front, we've got the left, we've got the X, we've got the rear. We've got the linear rod, 4 feet, 4 risers, 4 foot holders, 10-watt laser, hardware, cable tie downs, Allen wrench, USB drive, limit switches, user manual, hey, air pump, power adapter.
This says for EU, which I find interesting because they look basically the same to me. Interesting. I'm going to guess that this is the EU one and this is the US one. That's because we have a polarized plug, so the left blade is a little bit wider than the right blade. This is the neutral, and that's the hot. This one, they're both the same size. And it looks like it would plug into a normal or standard plug in the US. Very interesting.
Safety glasses, USB cable, powered brick, and it's a 40mm focusing tool. So like I said, it looks like 35, 40mm, so we got that. And there's a coupling. That's in there.
So, the first thing we're going to do is going to put feet on the front module using M4 8mm screws. Nice the way they have this. I don't doubt you'll be able to see that on the camera, but inside here the hole is beveled, so it should be self-centering essentially. I did this backwards. The instructions show to do it with it turned this way, not quite sure why. And I'm wondering if this funky little piece fits right there over our offline controller. Keep those connectors protected. We did not get an offline controller, so something to look into. Maybe something that we can add. Then we don't have to have it hooked up to the computer. How about that? All right, now we put support feet on. And there are holes in these feet, so if we wanted to, we could either screw this down to a board. That'll hold the laser pretty much in place permanently. We could also potentially put some pins down on the board so that this would sit on those pins and keep it in place. Something to think about. Okay, we'll just set that back for the moment, and we'll get our rear module. Oh, and we screw the feet on. These directions so far have been pretty clear. Just set this aside for now. This comes back forward. We need the left module to connect to the front module. I need to flip this over now. Alright, this is our left module, or left, what are they calling it? Yeah, left module. And that's going to get attached with 4 M4 10s. Let's pull those out. And with most things, I'm not going to tighten these down quite yet. I'll make sure everything is in position so we've got a little bit of wiggle room, and then once it's all in place, then we can tighten it down. Alright, now we do the same thing with the right module. Really only one way this goes on, but it took a little bit of looking to get that figured out. This is what goes on next. Yeah, okay. The next step will be to put on the rear assembly we've got sitting over here. So let's get this turned around. And this takes 4 of these M410s on each side. So we'll just go ahead and pull out 8 of them. We don't lose any by dropping them on the floor. Goodness. 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Until I get these tightened down, it does wiggle just a little bit. Okay, the next thing that we install is our coupling. Make sure we have the right Allen wrench. Okay, we do. And that goes on to the, what they're calling the optical shaft, which is this. So we just slide this on. This may be difficult to see in the video. This gets put here. We put the belt around it, and then there's a bearing that it slides into, like so. Okay, we've got the belt in the right spot, and then we bring the coupler over, and it's supposed to be about 5 millimeters away from the stepper motor, and then we tighten it down, but only one side, and that's where I'm confused a little bit. It says tighten the left end of the coupling. Okay, so I assume that this is the left end. Since we're in about the right spot, we'll go ahead and tighten this. We'll roll this down. Get the other one, that one tightened. Go back to the first one, make sure it's tightened. Just for kicks, I'm going to go ahead and measure and see how close I got to 5 millimeters. Hot diggity dog, 5.5. It's close enough. Let's give this a turn here so might be able to see that. It's really dark in here, but it goes underneath this bearing, goes over the top of this one, comes all the way back, connects to our little gantry mover thingy, comes around a pulley on this side that's a tensioner that we can adjust. Back over here underneath, and then around our optical shaft, and then back around. So we are set correctly. What's the next step? Okay, we're going to put the Y gantry on there, so we need to get this all spun around again. It's a lot of wiring, but it'll all make sense once it's all put together. Okay, so this is going to get attached somehow. Well, how about that? We're going to use M410s again. Well, this is going to be a difficult one. The side rail is in the way of my Allen wrench, so I'm going to use my fingers. All right. The next step is to put a couple M314s into place on the back side to set the stops for our tensioner. So let's get this spun around once again. We have a hole here and a hole here where these will get put into place. As I turn this, it's tensioning the belt on this side, and there's a bit of tensioning that it needs still. It's kind of floppy. When I get that to tighten up, then I will get the big Allen wrench out, and then we'll just secure that on the side here. That'll hold our tension. We'll do the same thing over on the other side. Yes, this is considered the left side. It's facing away from us right now, so that's why it is on the right. This side I'm going to tension just a little bit more. So we'll loosen that up, and we'll tighten this tensioning screw just a little bit. Using a little music there. I'm trying to get the same pitch out of each side, so I know they're pretty close to the same tension. Let's get another. Yeah, that's getting tight, and this one was tight, so. A square laser is a happy laser. All right, let's square this real quickly and make sure that it's square. This corner, oofta. Its diagonal is longer than my stick. So what do we have? I have to go to the inside corner here. It's just under 35.5. So we'll do the same thing over here. Inside corner. Hot diggity, she's square. Let's go ahead and tighten all of these down the way it's positioned. And we'll measure again to ensure that it's square. The frame on this seems to be very well built, nice and sturdy. That should last us a good long time. With all of those tightened, let's give it another measure. We are square. So the main frame is square. Now let's go ahead and get this gantry part squared. How does it say to do it? It says to pull it all the way back, not forward. So let's see. Push the X around. And we tighten the coupling. That was very convenient that it's right here facing us. If that weren't the case, if one of these set screws was not facing us, we really should then undo this, rotate it around so that when this is all the way back, we have access to tighten at least one of those. Okay. Now, that seems to move okay. It seems a bit hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up these tensioners just a little bit and see if that smooths that out at all. Now we get to put the laser module on. To do that, we rotate the whole assembly again, but not all the way around. Although I will do it mainly all the way around. Actually, why don't we do it more than all the way around? Should have gone the other way. That way the camera can see this. This is where that goes. Bring it forward a little bit. Now this is a highly technical process of sliding this. Make sure this is loose. There we go. And tightening. Whew! That was rough. Yeah, that was super easy. Just slides right into place. We've got a nice adjusting screw here. We don't have to get it real tight, and it stays in place nicely. As we're focusing, we just pull our shield up out of the way. We can tighten that a little bit, and we need to be 40 millimeters away, and we just loosen, pull our block out, and we're focused. Next step is going to get our drag chain installed, and for that we rotate the assembly again. Glad you guys caught this. All right. We have a tensioner here that we need to make sure is done. Now this one actually is tightened down, and so that is likely the factory set position. Well, it may be the factory tension, but the hole isn't lined up, so I'm going to have to loosen the tensioner. And hopefully I'm holding the correct tension, or close to it. I don't know where all those cables are supposed to go. Alright, so all of this, since it's already pre-run, it's going to have to come like this. There we go. The nice thing about the drag chain is it will help keep all of the wiring, and in this case, the air assist, nice and organized and keep it out of what we're working on. This step would be easier without all the wiring already in place. And then putting the wiring in place would be harder. Okay, before I tighten that down fully, I will get the other side bolted in place. Then we can cinch both sides down. Come back to this side, get this cinched down as well. That's how the drag chain works. Okay. They're saying to something that's already done, so the Y and the X motor controls are connected. The X something is connected. Must be the limit switch. Yeah. So the X limit switch. So those are already connected. X and the. But the where's the Y? All right. Well, let's flip this over. Wham! Let's see if we can get this wiring figured out. So what we want to do is run it up through this hole. To get that plugged in. And then this whole bundle comes over this way. Here's our Y motor control. That'll plug right in here to the Y motor. This floats out here. That will get plugged into the air assist along with this little tube. That's later. So for right now, they're saying to get the Y motor control plugged in. At least they gave us an access hole for that. Almost big enough to fit your fingers in. Alright. We'll get these things plugged in where they belong. It's going to be tricky to see on camera. Where's our wire? Here it is. According to the picture, the X limit switch gets plugged in here. And this wire has an L on it, which I assume comes all the way over to here, which also has an L on it, which will plug into the laser. Fortunately, this controller board doesn't tell me what's what. We'll have to wait till we get to that step. So we got the Y plugged in. That's what this step's all about. What's next? As shown in the diagram, insert the X-axis limit switch cable into the X-axis limit cable interface according to... Okay, well that is already done here. So what we have on this side, we have our X-axis for the motor control, X-axis for the limit switch. See that at all? So we'll get the limit switch plugged in, and we'll get the motor control plugged in. These little tabs that they put on here for labeling are quite nice. I know exactly what's what. So we'll want to bring all of this around here when we tie this down so that they can all stay out of the way. So then I can zip tie these two wires together here and then get it up here connected with this bundle, and I zip tie that down and those will be out of the way. Ooh, now we get to connect the air tube. There we go. So how does that get connected? It comes out of this. Of course, they show this in the other orientation. So to make things simple, let's rotate this whole thing again. Bring this up so we can see what we're doing. Of course, we're not going to be able to see it very well. The hose comes down this side. You probably can't see that, but that's where it connects on to the air assist. Just like that. We'll probably do a zip tie on here or something to keep that from rubbing. We don't want it rubbing on the gantry bar all the time. We should be able to put a zip tie over here. Plenty of room for it. Boom. That'll hold that up out of the way. Next step is to connect the laser. There we go. Snapped right into place. Because this air assist hose is bugging me, I'm going to see if I can go ahead and get this held over and out of the way. Doesn't need to be too tight, just needs to hold it out of the way. If you've seen my unboxing of another laser that I did, you'll have seen this handy little case cutter thing that my nephew made for me. He 3D printed this, and it holds a standard utility knife blade, and you can just give it a little push and pull it down, and it stays out of the way. And when you need it, you just slide it up. Thank you, Benjamin. Next step. Now is as good of any time, I suppose, to get that done. So get all these wires. Let's see, I was going to put one over here, wasn't I? Going to zip these two guys together. So they're saying to go ahead and get the pump connected, which we'll see how easy this is. There's a little barb on here. We'll see how easy it is to pull that off. I'm just going to not put it on all the way. So this will sit right next to this. Okay, yeah, it goes this way. So that hose gets in there. Now there's not enough hose here to do this quite properly. And then this has to get plugged in the front. So this doesn't have a whole lot of area that it can be in without without putting a crink in the, without collapsing the hose or pulling on the power wire. It'd be kind of slick if this mounted on here, although I would imagine the vibration from the pump would not be good for the laser as a general rule. So having it off to the side makes sense. It'd be nice to have this a little further away, easily fixed. We already have a pump, and we could potentially use that one. We'll have to do some measurements on the hose here to see if that would be potentially compatible, or we can get a converter and use the other pump. We'll see how this one performs. All right, back to the controller. Let's get this spun around. See what we can see in here. Get this gantry out of the way. You can see it over here. There's one here over on the left. Well, it's already plugged in. Okay, so that step's already done. It's already plugged in over here on that side. What's not plugged in is this L, which is the laser. And according to the diagram, I must have missed that step somewhere back here where it said to plug that in. Or not. Anyway, this needs to be plugged in. So we'll just get that pushed down into place. There we go. Popped right into place. So somehow in all of this wiring, apparently the air pump will turn on and off because it's connected to the controller. That's awesome. We'll see. See if that actually works. That means I'll have to start saying in my code whether I want that on or not. And that also means we need to use that pump or rewire this to a relay to control the other pump. Well, yeah, whatever. It looks like we're done with assembly at this point. That's talking about focusing the laser. Let's get this turned around one more time so we can see it. It's all set up, ready to go. The next step, it was talking about focusing, which we've already done that step. I have this set. Well, not anymore. We just loosen up here. Tighten it when we hit our focus block. Laser's focused, ready to go. So it looks like there's supposed to be some sort of little cup or something that goes in here that will hold this tool. Now, I can put it like that, but it's resting on our control or drive shaft thing that moves this all back and forth. So we don't want to have it sitting on that, and it could do that, it could fall down. So we'll have to see what the deal is there. We have our emergency stop button, so we just push that, and that should send a signal to the controller, which is hiding right underneath here, what to do. We have our test button, so it looks like if I just push it, it'll do a test fire of the laser. So maybe I push it again and it shuts off. So it says test fire, back to home button. So it says click to test fire. So I don't know if it's an on-off kind of thing, but it says press to back to home. So I assume if I press and hold this, it'll go and do a homing cycle. And then that's just an on-off. Well, there we have it. We're all set up. If we had an offline controller, we plug it in here. Over on the side is where we plug in the power. So we've got a spot for power. Get that up where you can see it. Spot for power down here, and then our USB connection above that. So that's in a nice location. Relatively painless build. Most of the hard stuff was really already done. There's a lot of this that we didn't have to do. We'll just keep an eye on these tensioners in the back and in on the front here. Make sure those are set the way we want. They seem to be good right now. We should be square with our gantry. So the next step will be to get this all hooked up and do a test burn. Check down in the description for a link to the SainSmart site where they sell the Genmitsu line of lasers, as well as a bunch of other cool things. Check them out. I'll have a link down there for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you like the content of our channel, please subscribe. It really helps us out. Enjoy doing your CNC at home projects.